Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to ShortSalePowerHour.com from Pacific Beach, California. I'm Kevin Kaufman.
Hey, I'm Fred Weaver.
We're Group 4610, Arizona, and soon to be California's premier short sale team. You heard it, California's premier short sale team.
So Kevin, I got a topic for us today. One that I have to honestly say I don't think we've ever really discussed on an episode before.
I don't think we have.
Nor do I think we've ever even really discussed it in class before.
Okay.
And the topic is around post-approval problems. Can I say it that way?
Oh yeah.
Meaning you've got an approval from the bank,
right?
And problems arise.
Well,
how do you handle them? What's really happening out there for those of you that don't do a lot of short sales, or they just come to this website to figure out what's real and what's not?
I'll give you an example. We had one yesterday on a deal that closed yesterday.
Okay.
So our escrow officer was looking to get final HUD approval from our negotiator at Citi on a short sale that was literally closing that same day. She had attempted 3 or 4 times and couldn't get through to the negotiator, but finally got through to her, and the negotiator denied the final HUD. Literally did not approve the final HUD, despite the fact that all terms of the approval letter have been met on the HUD. She didn't like it, and the worst part of it is that the negotiator wasn't willing to actually speak in plain English and say, here's how things have to look. And so, to be honest with you, it took about an hour and a half of my day yesterday.
Yeah.
Frustrated the heck out of me.
Oh yeah.
And it took me getting a VP involved in the transaction to get it done. Ultimately, we closed it, but that's a great example of the fact that, hey, sometimes there's problems even at the finish line. Just because a deal is approved doesn't mean it's closed.
Well, and that's exactly the point we want to make today, is that just because you've got an approval letter, understand that your approval letter at most banks, 98% of the time, is going to say that they still have to approve the final HUD.
Yeah.
And because a lot of their approval letters don't necessarily specify what they're paying and what they're not paying, you think it's good because you're meeting their net and you had those fees on the last HUD, but then they look at it and they go, we're not approving this. And you're like, what do you mean you're not approving it?
We're not paying that much for HOAs.
You didn't have me make any changes on my HUD before you sent me an approval, nor does your approval actually state what you're paying and what you're not paying. So these kind of problems come up. Now the best thing to do would be to get clarity on these things before they happen.
Sure.
But hey, this kind of thing happens. I had one post-approval problem recently. This
I
transaction.
didn't know which one you're talking about.
Oh, this one baffled me, and I think those of you out there will enjoy this. Servicer Saxon Mortgage Company, okay. Investor Freddie Mac. Oh, excuse me, Fannie Mae. Okay. Saxon Servicer, Fannie Mae investor. I received an approval from my coordinator, right? And we set and scheduled the closing.
Right.
Well, about a week into the closing, meaning the buyers are starting to do their appraisals and everything's moving along, I get a call from another negotiator saying, I'm the new negotiator assigned to this file. I need blah, 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 and blah from you so we can submit it for approval. I go, what do you mean? I already have this file approved. Oh, well, that approval is no longer valid. It's voided. It's not good anymore. Because I go, why? Well, we never submitted the file to Fannie Mae for approval.
Hold on. You got an approval letter from a servicer that doesn't actually have an approval from the owner of the loan.
Correct. I go, so because of your error, your, shall I say, I guess it could be ignorance of the other negotiator. I don't know what to call it. Whatever you want to call it. Because of your error, Saxon, I now have to get you more documentation so you can submit it to the investor. I'm like, what are you going to reject the funds at closing? Like, I have a valid approval letter.
Dude, that baffles my mind.
Honestly, I could have fought this and could have turned it into a big battle. I chose not to. I was willing to if they didn't get me the new approval, but I got them the couple documents they needed. I went ahead and sent it over. They got it in time, and I got a new approval letter. This one approved by Fannie Mae. But guys, this is the kind of stuff out there that's really happening in the trenches that you're not going to hear when you go to a normal short sale class, or you're not going to hear from the guy from the bank who comes out to tell you this is how to work with X bank when doing short sales. Because the truth is, servicers make mistakes just like the investor.
They're people just like
What
us.
I disliked about that transaction, though, Kevin, was that they made me feel like I was the one that did something wrong. Yeah. I'm like, I have a valid approval letter.
That guy wasn't going to actually take responsibility.
No,
and that's a whole other conversation to have about taking personal responsibility for your transactions.
The point of this episode is there are post-approval problems, and you got to be flexible with them. Like them or not, they're a part of the business. They're a part of what we deal with. And when you do enough short sales, you're going to hit weird scenarios and stuff like that.
And the thing is, there's not one way to get it. If you notice, in fact, the example I gave it, I pushed back. In fact, I escalated. I went high above my negotiator.
Absolutely.
Fred actually laid back and went a different route, and we both got the same result that we wanted, because you know what?
In the end, I just wanted the deal.
You can't treat every single transaction exactly the same like that. Sometimes you're going to have to take one approach, other times you're going to take another approach, but you're honestly not going to know that until you have done multiple transactions or hear about it from somebody else who has. So you guys understand you've got to be able to approach these things differently.
Absolutely.
You've got to be willing to sometimes get things approved twice, 3 or 4 times to wrap up a deal and get it closed.
Well, Kevin, I'm kind of sad we have to end this episode because we have now gathered a crowd of almost 100 people behind the camera here, and I don't need you to pan around, Kevin. We don't. It's unnecessary. But
yeah, I don't want you to get embarrassed.
Bikers and walkers and joggers. Just wave, everybody. Keep it down now. Behind us watching today's episode. So anyway, we're gonna wrap it up like we always do. We're right out here at Pacific Beach on the boardwalk, and we're gonna just wrap it up rowdy like always on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Short sale power hour. Short sale power hour.